Well, good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Piccadilly. Now this is the day we actually start some construction. I've made some decisions, I've not made complete decisions yet, but what I was saying before, pretty much many of you were agreeing with anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a back scene back down here, which will be a double-sided back scene, which I'll explain shortly because that's the focus of the video today. And then shortly next week or the week after will be some scenery going across here with a tunnel portal for this bit and another one for the line going at the top there. And there will be, behind the two tunnels, you'll see there is the bridge going across, and that will be a girder type bridge with like a rounded top on it. So there'll be a back scene going down here. There'll also be another back scene running down here, finishing about this point, so it'll sort of step down, if you like, or sort of slope down like that, but perhaps not quite as severe as that. And it will then go round the corner, have an opening for the bottom section for the tracks to go through, and then be full height at that point. And it will be a removable back scene, so if I do need to get to the tracks at the back here coming up towards New Mills, I will be able to, and I shall fix the tunnel entrance to that backboard. All right, so today's video then, I'm going to be making those boards and showing you exactly how I go about doing it. Right, so you can see I've got these brackets here, which I got ages and ages and ages ago from Screwfix, and as back scenes have been removed from time to time, so have the brackets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place them around the edge of where the back scene is going to go. So to make sure I get them in the right place, up here I'm going to measure. If you can see, I've just put that up against the edge of the top level, which then shows me I can put that particular board or that particular angle bracket at that point. Now, finding a pencil, I'm then going to draw around it. Oops, sorry about that. Draw around it and then mark on where those holes come. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing there. Literally just marking on the holes. And from that point, I can then use a bradawl, or in this case, it's an awl. My mother used to use these in her shoemaking. But it'll do the same job for what I want to do. And then make another hole like that. And then I'm ready to put in 2 screws for that point there. And literally just put it in. Not going to drive it home just yet because I want to get this other one in. Sometimes when you drive the screw home too early, it can send the whole plate off. Okay, and that's solid. Right, welcome back. Now, what I need to do is to take this board and bend it around the corner. Now, because this is 2mm thick, it's not going to bend very easily. So what I need to do is score it. Now, the scoring I'm going to put on is going to be on the outside here, so that it will bend around the corner nicely. Now, I'm deciding where to start and where to finish. So I think I'm going to go all the way to the very edge here, but start it from about there. Okay? All right, hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Now, the backboard is that way up on the actual scene itself. But so, and I've put an arrow on to indicate this is the bit I'm scoring. But as long, it doesn't matter which way round I have it, as long as I know where the score marks are going to go. Score a line. Just cut through once. Now, for this to be effective, you need to keep them probably no more than 1 centimetre. Otherwise, you'll find it won't bend properly. Right, so that's all done now. So the idea then is you literally just bend it round very gently. Don't force any one particular part, but just gently ease it round all the bends. And then take it back to the layout to see how it's getting on. Okay, the next stage then is to mark on where these boards come. So I've got one there. I'm just going to literally just draw around these, giving a slightly bigger gap, obviously, because I don't want these to be tight. I want them to have plenty of room, because if you've got a few of them you're putting these back scenes onto, if you've got one that's tight, it will be a nightmare. Right, you'll notice I've brought the original back scene in, as messy as it is, but that's going to go at the back of these brackets. So I've transferred all the marks to the other side by taking the marks down, marking the edges, marking on the 50mm that it is all the way along, and then using the tri-square to take up each of the marks. Now this, as I said, is going to be glued to the top of that. Now what I have done is released the edge of this because it's going to follow a slightly different trajectory. So I don't want to have it glued rigorously, but it's got to get up to the marks, to the brackets I want it to go to now. So it's going to be reconfigured, if you like. So I'm going to glue this on and then work my way along the back. So I'm going to make another backboard to go from here, and then that will be the one to carry on beyond this point. Okay, so I'll come back to you once I've done that and I've got that bit on the layout, and I'll show you where I'm going from then on in. Right then, the other piece that I've just showed you is gluing. I've put pegs all over it, washing line pegs and clamps, and making sure that the laminate glues properly. Now this is the other board, obviously, and that is not glued at all. Obviously I've put this piece on to glue that too, and that will line up. I've also had to just because I decided to have this board coming down ever so slightly lower than this, I've had to do these cutout sections so that it fits over the brackets. Okay, so let's line that back up. Now you'll also notice I've gone round and drawn round to every single one of these like I showed you earlier on, but I've also now cut a load of these strips. Now some are wider than others. It really does depend on what you need, because you can't put a wide piece on a curve, because otherwise you'll end up flattening out the curve, and so that wouldn't really be appropriate. So I've cut some narrower pieces for the curves. So I'm going to stick one there like that, one there like that, the other side there like that. Could probably get away with the straight just going there, and all you're doing is adding these pieces either side of the brackets, but don't put them up so they're touching. Give it a little bit of breathing space, because the bigger the gap that you've got, the easier it is to put the back scene on top of these brackets. And like I said, if you squash them up, you'll never get it on, and it will all break up before you've even got it on, and that would be a disaster. So it's better to give it more room either side. Okay. Right, there we go. That's the piece all sort of packed up, if you like. I mean, packed with these packers. And it's a good chance to use up all the scraps, as you can see from over there. So I found some old back scene, which I took down a while ago, and I literally just took it apart and used the card. And, you know, why not? So you can see now, hopefully, that it's created these channels. So when the next skin goes over the top, you've got these channels that will literally just slot over the top of the angle brackets. I hope that makes sense now. The other thing I do need to consider is these bridges or tunnel entrances, because they're going to have to go sort of like that. I will cut this bit off, this bit here, but that will sort of have to go sort of straight on, if you like, and then that one will go sort of there. So I will have to modify this part here and then have this coming out more in that direction to get that tunnel on. I mean, that's got to go, the edge of that tunnel's got to go at least to there, hasn't it? Because these tracks are going to sort of go in a bit. So I'll have to have a think about that, how that's going to work. And I might, thinking about it, end up moving that bracket back a little bit to accommodate the width of those two tunnels. So I'll have a think about that before I build this back scene here, because otherwise it's going to look a bit strange. Oh, he's got Metcalfe retaining wall. Yeah, well, I have, and I've still got it. I bought it for an old layout, so I can't see the point in making something fresh if I've already got something that does the job. I might do something to tart it up a bit, but I'm going to use it, and there's no point in not. I think it needs bending around a little bit more to make it follow the shape, but yeah, I think it'll be all right. So you can get the impression there of what that's going to look like. If I pull back, we've still got the two tunnels back again, but obviously here we've got the wall coming down, because if you remember, I said I quite like the idea of being really close to the trains as they're coming past. Right, so I've gone ahead quite a bit more actually. What I decided to do was to split this down the middle here, and then send the top half to the back, and then bend the back scene, this back scene going around here, bend it out slightly. So the swoop comes up this way, because that part is going to be more a section on its own, if that makes any sense. Okay, I've also cut the two tunnels down and I've glued them together. You can even see the glue on the top there in the middle. That will be covered up, don't worry about that. Obviously I've cut off quite a proportion off this side as well, and when the back scene goes into here, that will marry up with the edge of that. I might have to put a valance piece on, and I might have to extend it ever so slightly over a bit more to make it fit, but that should work. There will need to be a piece going in the top here. I was a bit hasty in cutting that off, and I also need to put another piece in, more of a triangle piece in here on this board to make that work there. Also, I'm thinking of putting a retaining wall in, because I was thinking about the idea of having the entrance to the town into the city, and to be honest, it's not working brilliantly for me, in the sense that with regard to the original idea of having buildings, full height buildings here, because I need to bring this grass bank down here to make that part of it work. But what I can do is have buildings in the background, and then maybe the start of some offices here, because you still get buildings next to tunnels. New Mills is a classic example of that. Obviously, down here you've got the mill in New Mills, probably because hence the name. But so I think I could get away with having a building attached to this side. So when you see it from here, this will be a scene on its own, and then obviously this will continue down here as New Mills. Whether it works as one unit or two, I don't know at the moment. We'll have to wait and see. But it will be a version of something, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'm going to continue working on this back scene, these two side pieces here. I might give you an indication of how that's going to come, but it will literally just come down into the corner, and then the whole of that bank will come down to meet the retaining wall I'm referring to. This all still needs to be skinned, by the way. That will still need to be done to make it physically make it work. All right, anyway, I'll catch you later. There's no point in me explaining this because it's all very bespoke stuff. And well, there we go. That's the result of these couple of days work, and yes, it's taken 2 days to do this. So what have we got then? We've got a back scene which goes around there, double-sided back scene. So we've got this little extra scene with the tunnel back in there again now, and that will have, as I said before, those retaining walls just there. And this side also got a back scene which will have some kind of buildings or something, I'm not totally sure yet. But you'll see these bits of paper just there. Now, they're mock-ups, clearly. They're just to give you an idea, really. So please don't think that's the way it's going to be. I think we can do a little bit better than that. But you'll notice then that the bank from the hill comes off and blends into the wall, and that then continues down to the retaining wall, which will then run underneath and into the tunnel down. So where the 37's just going, okay? And obviously into the entrance to Piccadilly. Now, this side, I've widened this platform, well, I say platform, the area here coming out of New Mill Station. Obviously, the tunnels are now at the end. And again, I've just indicated with 2 pieces of paper the banking that will be then there. The 3 tracks are still there, but as I thought, and a few of you sort of agreed with me, I will remove that 3rd track, and then that will then curve into the tunnel there, okay? And then I can make this area into the left-hand tunnel all disused and, you know, disused and decrepit looking, and then I can sort of scenic this bit up here at the same time, okay? Now, coming down to this area, because we've obviously got 3 separate or 4 separate zones there, we've got the area coming out of the tunnel. This banking here was the banking that was down just here. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to leave it there. I might incorporate it if I can, but on the other hand, it's perfect for whatever it is, just to show you what there's going to be there. I probably will put the sidings back in, maybe 2 sidings back in here, in this area here, because obviously at some point they will be a lot straighter coming along past what is the silly S-bends at the moment. So all that will change as and when time allows, okay? So yeah, I think we'll call it a day there. So I hope you like those changes there. Do comment on what you think. But I mean, I'm quite happy to receive further comments about what you think should go down here. My idea at the moment is the canal idea, and build the area up slightly so it's sort of sloping down. Whether it comes from here or whether there be a bridge with the river in it, I'm not sure yet. It's all very vague in early days. But it's up to you. You're welcome to comment. I'm not going to say I'm going to do it, but it'll help me formulate my own ideas, if nothing else. All right. Anyway, the top video will be the second lot of destruction on the track, and the second video will be dismantling and removing this whole section just here. All right. Anyway, take care of yourself, and I'll see you again next week. Bye bye now.